Hello, everyone. This is Mad Cat, and I know I haven't done a video in a super long time, but I've been busy working on quite a few different things. I've started driving for Lyft, so I'm actually making money again, which is great because it's the first year that I've been able to do any sort of work. So that's fantastic news. I've also been working on my book, boysandmensissues.com. And before I get started about my date, I want to talk real quick about my new website, boysmenissues.com. The link is down below, but it's not too much right now. I plan on making more of it once I get the book out and once I can dedicate more time to it. But right now, it has a shop for the lovely ladies for Men's Issues Quick Reference Guide. Now, anyone who donated to the Indiegogo campaign got a copy of this, but this copy is actually going to be different. So here's the original copy, and here is the new copy. So already you can see that there's a size difference, but there's also more facts in this one than there is this one. This one had about 60 facts. This has 87. So as you can see, just has a lot more facts in it. Also has some pictures of previous models from the 2018 calendar. And then special thanks to Kat, who's been helping us out bringing all of this forward. We do have some plans in the works for lovely ladies and some stuff related to my book. So be sure to check out my site. You can get this for $10. I have them all printed out, so they're ready to go. Just make a purchase and I will send it to you immediately. So very proud of that. And whenever I release a new Boys and Men's Issue handbook, I'll be releasing a new one of these that will have new facts in it. So let's talk about my date. And I know this is a little late in the night, but I've been on and off again with Facebook dating. I mean, doing dating apps is horrible. Flat out just bad. Because it's like every profile is looking for just the top man they can get. You know, someone sent me this little joke about women going to the husband store, and on the first floor it's like, these men want to get married. The second floor, these men want to get married and they're caring. And you just keep going up until you get to like the top floor. Like the floor below it like had the absolute perfect man that any woman could want. And then the woman's like, this is everything I want, but I don't know. There's one more floor above me. Maybe I just see what it is, because every time I go up, it's just a little bit better. They go up there and say, well, there's no men here. This just proves that women cannot be pleased. Here's the exit. And then, of course, across the street, there's a wife store. And the first is she wants to get married. The second is she wants to get married and she's nice. The third floor is she wants to get married. She's nice. She loves sports. No man has ever gone to a higher floor than that. So, and that's what this situation is like for me. And that's what dating apps are like right now, is that women know that these dating apps are basically the husband's store. They see a man and like, oh, he's okay. He has a lot of good qualities. But I bet I could do better than him. Swipe left. Well, swipe left. Oh, he's really good looking. Oh, and he has money in his own place. Oh, but he smokes. And let me start off by saying that there's nothing wrong with having standards. There are many girls that I swipe left on, primarily because they don't have any sort of personality that they're showing. And what I mean by that is like they write the most bare minimum stuff. And they try to show pictures of just their head and not the rest of their body. And they use all sorts of filters that try to obscure how they look. And I always swipe left on those because it's like, what do I really know about this person? Nothing. But very recently, actually last week, all of this happened within a span of a week. So like on Sunday, I went into Facebook and it's like, oh, you have a notification. I saw it, went to Facebook dating, and I use Facebook dating because it's free and there's really nothing I lose in using it. I see a couple of profiles, I hit it, and then I forget about it. I've gone weeks not looking at it. And then every now and then I just look to see what's out there. So anyways, I go in there and there's a notification that a girl has liked me. Now, it's not too unusual for a girl to like me on there. It probably happens once every few months. But there's this girl who liked me, and I looked at her profile, and she didn't really have too much there, but there's enough that I was willing to see what more there could be. So I went ahead and hit liked, and I messaged them. And the conversation started off slow. Like this person would only give like one, I would write like a sentence or two, and they would only give a one-word answer. So I'm like, it's going to be one of those, because I've dealt with those kind of women that don't want to chat at all. And it's like, I can't get anything edgewise because it's like, it's a give and take when you have a conversation with someone. You say something, they say something, and you build off of each other to create a more complex conversation. But if they're giving as little as they can, the bare minimum, you can't really build off of that. But within a day, that changed to her just expanding her vocabulary. And we were having full-on conversations. Within 2 days, we had exchanged phone numbers. And then that night, I asked her, hey, let's go on a date. Let's meet each other. Because, you know, one thing I notice a lot in these profiles is I don't want endless text messages. So I took the initiative and say, hey, let's go on a date. And I picked the place which was close to where she lived. I figured for that convenience. And we went on a date. Now, the first thing I will say is that I am honest with every interaction I have. I'm disabled. I have been for the last 8 years. I still live with my mother. And I am driving right now. I do have a job driving Lyft, and I'm an author. Now, I don't necessarily tell them on the phone, through the messenger and through texting, but when the first thing I told this woman when I was on a date with her is my connection to the men's movement. And she seemed to have no problem with that whatsoever. So that was a very good sign. But I do tell people the truth, and more often than not, that's what disqualifies me. Oh, you still will live with your mother, you loser. Oh, you don't have a job. Well, how do you expect to have a family? You know, it's bullshit like that. But I do tell them that I'm on a 5-year plan, and that so far my 5-year plan, despite the drink virus, has seen some good results. I've made a lot of strides within this first year that I thought it would take me years to accomplish. So it's very possible that my 5-year plan is going to be successful. So let's talk about the date itself. Now, this woman, I think she's beautiful. But then I tend to favor women who are not drop dead sexy. I have found as a personal experience, and call me sexist if you want, that the more attractive a woman is, the more high maintenance she is. And I tend to favor right there in the middle. I actually consider myself right there in the middle. I think of myself, look-wise, I'm a 5. You add my personality, like I'm such a helpful, I'm a caring sort of individual. I want to try to make the world a better place. I do what I can with my limitations, and I think that bumps me up to a 6. And talking to her, and I don't mean to insult her, but looks-wise, she was a 5. She was a bigger woman. Her face was kind of plain. She was 38. She did wear some makeup to try to appear younger, but having done makeup myself, it's just like now I can kind of pick up on the ways that women use makeup to obscure their age. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I understand why women do it. I understand why men would do it. So she was a 5, but her personality was really great, so it bumps her up to a 6. I watch a lot of Better Bachelor, and I hope he takes this video, and I hope he uses this in one of his videos, but he gives off these warning signs. But this woman, she seemed to manipulate me into thinking that these warning signs didn't exist. And what I mean by that is she would ask me a lot of different questions, but then every now and then she would ask me a futurist question. And what I mean by futurist question is, if we're going to be together, what kind of future can I provide her? So she would ask me things about my career ambitions, how I plan to make good on my 5-year plan, what are my future plans, what are things I want to do. She would ask me those questions, but she would intermix them with other nonchalant questions that it's like I sort of noticed, but I mostly didn't. And maybe I had blinders on. But I did notice that every now and then she was asking me one of these qualifier questions. But the fact that she wanted to go on a date with me kind of indicated to me that maybe this was just a normal question. I mean, if you're going to be dating someone, you want to go long term with someone, maybe that's, an appropriate question to ask. During our date, she did ask me questions like about my writing. But what I found interesting is she didn't ask me like what my stories were about. She was asking me questions about like, how do you go about doing it? And so I answered her question, and then I told her about, the men's right book that I'm writing. And she thought that that was wonderful. She thought I was doing a really great thing. We talked about some of our past, talked about some of our ambition. And what was also interesting about her is, I've always learned that when it comes to the first date, you don't touch a girl at all, period. Just don't touch them. Because it can, for some women, it can be kind of an invasion of personal space, and they might be nervous. They might not appreciate being touched. They might need to get to know you first before they can say, okay, we can touch. This woman, so I was going to keep my distance. I wasn't going to touch her. She immediately started touching me. And didn't even really ask to touch me, which, I mean, I don't really care if women touch me, but, you know, it certainly is a double standard. But she was touching me, so I touched her back. So we were, you know, we were holding hands throughout the night. And all we really had was margaritas. She had 3, I had 2. And conversations was wonderful. It was great. Although during the time we were messaging each other before the date, there was a strong indication that after our date, we'd go back to her place and have sex. Now, she didn't specifically state that, but she made a lot of allusions to it. Like, she said that she was going to, before she was going to the date, she was going to go to a dispensary and she was going to pick up some stuff. Talked about getting high together. She talked about making some brownies, some special brownies, and that she would save me a piece. Like, after dinner, she would get me a piece of it. Well, that's kind of an indication. Like, how else am I supposed to get that if that I'm not at her place? Because I certainly didn't get it, period. But that was kind of an indication she wanted to go back to her place. And there was a lot of sexual talk between us, too. During the date, though, she said that she really liked me and that she really wanted to see if there could be a relationship. There's long term. But she personally felt that she personally felt that if we went home and had sex, that there probably wouldn't be a second date. That if you rush these things, and that made sense to me. It made a lot of sense to me. Like, you know, I was willing to go on multiple dates with this girl to do it right. That if we were meant to have a long-lasting relationship, I didn't want to do anything to jinx it. And then came time to pay the bill. And this is what really told me that this girl was special. Because when it came time to pay the bill, she went and grabbed for her wallet. I went and grabbed for my wallet. I just pulled out my card and I laid it down right there. And to me, it was kind of like I was testing her. In fact, that's pretty much what I was. If she saw that I put my card on the table, she could have picked it up, put it in the book, and set it aside. Telling me like, oh, she was just making the motion to pay for it, but she was waiting to see if I would do it. And I passed her little test and I paid for the whole thing. But what she did instead is she took her card out, picked up mine, put them both together into the book and set it aside. And then when the waitress came, she opened up the book and was like, okay, take these 3 margaritas and put it on this card. And he only had 2, so put it on this card. I'm like, whoa, she actually passed the dating test, the new test that all men should be doing. Like, if she's not willing to pay on the first date, then don't give her a second date. And more importantly, don't do anything too expensive. I mean, drinking margaritas at Dos Gringos, or is it Los Gringos? I don't know. That gets a bit expensive. I think those drinks are like $10 a piece, but she spent $30, I spent $20. I made sure to give our waitress a good tip because it kind of sucks when only people are drinking at a restaurant. But the fact that not only was she willing to pay, she was willing to pay for what she purchased. You know, why should I pay for more than what I ordered? And I was willing to go down the middle because, I mean, that's a little bit better in my opinion. But and maybe that was the sign. I don't know. But we went back to my car and we hung out for a little bit. There was some kissing, nothing too elaborate. And then I walked her back to her car, make sure that, you know, her car started. I was a gentleman. And then when she left, I went in my car and drove home. And 2 margaritas is not enough for me to get drunk. I was tipsy, but I was still capable of driving just fine. Plus, I had some water. So it was a great night. It was wonderful. And it was like, I was so excited. In fact, during the date, I had discussed with her, like, hey, you want to do a second date? And she said, yes. I'm like, oh, well, I want to take you to Oregano's. It's my most favorite restaurant. It's like, oh, I've never been there. I'm like, oh, you'll love it. You know, they have this big cookie with a vanilla ice cream on top. They call it a pizookie. I know other restaurants do it, but so there was already plans in motion to have a second date the next day. So she said she had to go into work early, and I was up early, so I texted her, and a few hours later she got back to me, probably when she wasn't so busy, and I said to her, you know, I really had a great time last night. She's like, oh, well, I really had a great night last night as well. Just seeing if anyone's commented. I've had a really great night as well, but I'm not sexually attracted to you. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what she said. Oh, I had a great time too. I'm just not sexually attracted to you. I'm like, what? I mean, this girl claims she's open-minded and that she's looking for a serious relationship, but right away, not sexually attracted to me. Again, we're both about equal in the looks department, but you know, Better Bachelor always talks about the 80-20 rule. 80% of women want the top 20% of guys. I thought that she might be in that minority of women who don't necessarily want the top echelons of guys, but can accept someone who's at her level. And we were at each other's level. I mean, we checked off so many boxes. You know, we laughed at each other's jokes. We shared a common history with each other. We desired some of the same things. We both wanted to do volunteer work for the homeless. We just really, really connected. Like, there's like 20 things on a list. And number 20 was sexual attraction. Clicked everything else, but nope, she didn't have an instantaneous need to have sex with me. And, you know, I asked her, well, is that it then? You know, do you not want to see me anymore? And she's like, well, I didn't necessarily say that. I'm like, oh, okay. Because, you know, I've been with women before that were not immediately sexually attracted to me. But they spent some time with me and they found that, you know, my personality was so great that it's like they could overlook my physical shortcomings. And I'm not saying I'm ugly. I'm saying that I'm average, you know. But at the same time, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. I needed an energy drink. Okay, so she says that she's not sexually attracted to me, but, you know, I was hoping that she'd at least give me a couple of dates, maybe 2 or 3 dates to really give me a chance. Because while first impressions are everything, they are also misleading. I mean, you can't really know a person just on one interaction with them. And you can't really know if there's going to be something there. I mean, I guess you can know that, but I just thought that, you know, she was being shallow. Like, she just wanted an instant gratification right then and there. And if she didn't feel it, she'd move on because she has that luxury as a female. She then gave me a message about how, oh, you know, you're so wonderful. You know, you've done so many great things. You've accomplished so much. You plan on doing so much. You have great passion. And that was the last message she sent to me. And I tried to send her a few more messages talking about, you know, just give me a chance. You know, I really like you. I think that we could make a connection together. And I have yet to hear from her. And I don't think I will. On Facebook dating, I went back to look at the old messages, maybe see if there's like some red flags that I just overlooked. hindsight being 2020. And she deleted our messages. I don't know if she blocked me or that she just deleted her profile. But it's like I can't look at the old messages. And it makes me wonder if her whole excuse of let's wait to have sex was her way of, because she made like an indirect promise that we'd go back to her place to have sex before we went on the date. And then while we were on the date, she's like, oh, we should wait. And I thought she was being a mature person, not wanting to jump in the sack with me and try to actually build something. It now makes me wonder if she did it so as her way of saying, I did want to have sex with you until I met you, and now I don't want to have sex with you at all. But I'm going to do it under the guise of, I want to have a relationship. And that's the thing that I keep questioning about this. Is it just that meeting me just ruined my chances? You know, it's tough. It's tough to deal with that kind of rejection. And it took me about a day to being really hurt. And then the day after, you know, I felt a little bit better. And today it's like, this is 2 days after all of this happened, and I'm doing okay. You know, I'm moving forward with my life. I'm looking at it as it was a really good date. Anything after that is crap. But at least for 1 week, I had that hope. I had that promise. And I made the mistake on Facebook saying that this one was a keeper. And, you know, I had people saying, well, you know, you don't know anything yet. You know, she probably isn't a keeper. You know, Paul Elam had even said to me, it's like, you know, she sounds fantastic, but you'll know she's a keeper when you say no to her about something. And this is actually something from his book, Men, Women, Relationships, that, you know, the best way to know if you have a future with a woman is, how does she handle when you say no to her? You know, if she just accepts that, oh, okay, well, you know, you said no, okay, we're not going to do it. If she freaks out, like, well, what do you mean no? We always do it anyways. Why can't you do it now? Blah, blah, blah. Making it all about her. Get away from her. But I didn't even get that chance with this woman. But yeah, I made the mistake of saying she was a keeper. And then it's like almost as immediately as I said that, she texted me and said that she's not sexually attracted to me. I'm not saying that one has anything to do with the other, but I kind of set myself up for disappointment. And that was kind of the mistake. But it's just been so long for me since I've been on a date. I haven't been on a date in 2 years. I haven't had a relationship in 3 years, and I haven't had a serious relationship in 8 years. And suddenly the universe has delivered this woman to me. We get along. Everything is great. Go on a date. Fantastic. I feel like I hit it out of the ballpark. I feel like that, but now looking back at all of it, I feel like I hit the ball, but I didn't make it to first base. And I'm not talking about first base like, you know, I touched her or kissed her or anything. I just mean in the grand sense of, you know, I got up to bat, I hit the ball, date was good, but there wasn't a second date. There wasn't a continuation. So, and that's how it feels. Like the ball goes high in the air. It's like, oh, yeah, it's going to be a home run. I'm going to run as hard as I can to first base. Caught. I'm out. It's done. And this is what all of this felt like to me, that she said all of the right things. And this is probably the message that I want to give to everyone is be careful of anything being a little too good to be true. It's in women's best interest to be feminist because feminists offer women quite a lot, offer them that nothing is their fault, everything is a fault of men, and that so long as you drink our Kool-Aid, we're going to be there for you. And this woman seemed like an anti-feminist. We talked about men's rights on the date, and she seemed to be all for it. She seemed to be focused on, having a mature relationship. She split the bill with me, did all of the things that most women wouldn't have done. And it gave me a lot of promise, like she could be it, and boom, she wasn't, because I wasn't good enough for her. I wasn't an 8 or a 9. I didn't have the capability of taking care of her. Now, I'm not saying that that's what she was specifically looking for, but it seems like it is, because, again, we check off all the boxes except that she doesn't have an instant gratification, an instant need to have sex with me. It means that I'm not her type. And that I'm certain that if she had given me a couple of more dates, she would have changed her mind. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it really wasn't meant to be, and I dodged a bullet. A lot of people have told me that. You dodged a bullet. If she is this vain, if she just is only concerned about how you physically look and how you make her feel sexually, she's not worth it. And here's the kicker. She saw pictures of me before I met her. In fact, I got a haircut too. And it's like I was upfront with her about everything. I live with my mother. I'm disabled. All of that. And she still went on a date with me, and then the next day said she's not sexually attracted. So my guess was, here's my guess about all of this, is that she was right there on the edge, like, balancing right there. On one side, there was not attracted to me, doesn't want to pursue anything. And on this side, it was, she is attracted to me, she does want to pursue something. So she was right there on the edge. And when she went on the date with me, she was trying to see if maybe there was something I could do in person that could tip the scales one way or the other. And it did. I tipped the scales that she's not interested. I wasn't good enough for her. And that's a shame on her part, because she's going to miss out on a relationship with me. And maybe I'm not dating material right now, but I'm still trying to get myself financially independent. I'm a few years off from that, but it's like you get onto the ground floor of this and you're going to be rewarded. And it's not saying that I'm going to take care of a woman, but I'm going to be a great man to be with. But the problem is I'm in the majority of men that women are not interested in. It's true. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say that women owe me anything, that women are horrible, and, you should be with the best man you can be with. But again, we checked off on 19 different metrics, but just that one, not interested in me sexually, based on one date. So, does this mean I've become MGTOW? No, I'm not MGTOW. There's a lot of things about MGTOWs that I do agree with, like I won't ever get married. I probably won't have children. I mean, I'm 40 years old. I mean, if I had children, it would have to be right now. And if all goes according to plan, that I'm 45 and I find myself in a relationship, a good, long-lasting relationship, I'm definitely not going to have children, because by the time they're 20, I'm 65. What kind of father can I be at that point? Especially with all my handicaps. And that will make it easier should we ever break up. But, nowadays I see the article from Canada where they ordered a man to pay alimony for a woman he didn't marry and didn't have kids with and didn't even actually live with her. And yet he has to pay her like it was his wife because he gave her a quality of life, and the courts determined that it's abusive not for women not to have that quality of life. Boo fucking who. Oh, I probably shouldn't swear. But, I'm still of the belief that there are good women out there. There are women out there who are worth pursuing. It's just they're probably already in relationships right now. But, I'm not giving hope on finding someone for the rest of my life. But I choose to look at this as a positive experience. I choose to look at this as I had a good time with a wonderful woman, and that's it. I had a good time with a wonderful woman. Afterwards, she became a horrible woman, but I don't want to focus on that. Maybe I'll get another date. And now that I'm making money, I can go out on dates. Or maybe it'll be a couple of months, or maybe it'll be a couple of years. Who knows? But this feels just like a good thing. And that's what I want to focus on. Like, the ball is rolling for me. Things of my life are just coming together. So that's where I stand on all this. It was a good date. Let's try to have another good date. But be wary of women who say all of the right things. Like if it's just a little too perfect. Because, my abusive ex, she spouted men's rights stuff all the time. And she was still physically abused me. So, just because a woman might say the things that you want a woman to say doesn't mean that she's going to be the woman you want her to be. I think women are getting a little bit smarter now that in order to get men, they kind of have to be more male-centric rather than female-centric. But that doesn't mean that they aren't female-centric. It just means that they're better at disguising themselves. So that's my relationship advice to you. But I'm not giving up. I'm still trying, but, who knows how long it'll be before I get another date. So if you're still watching this, reminder, check out the link below. Get the new Lovely Ladies Quick Reference Guide. This is Volume 1, 87 facts. More than this original. I think I only have 10 of these left. I don't know if I'm going to sell them or not. But, we have all sorts of categories, all sorts of women, and we do have some future plans. So if you want to see more stuff from me, Modern Medusa, and Cat in the Fiddle, consider buying this, because with this we can go on to do bigger and better projects. It's only $10, and believe me, it's worth it. 87 facts at all of their links. So that's going to do it for me today. This is Mad Cat signing off.